Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Magistus deck profile. So this deck is a really fun deck that is probably the coolest deck for lore in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it actually takes around 4 to 5 decks that have been previously created, such as Endymion, Witchcrafters, and a bunch of other decks, and just kind of, even Invoked is in this lore, and just kind of meshes them all together to be into this really cool city to be able to play in one deck. I love the way this deck plays. It's super fun, it's very simplistic, and incorporates all sorts of different summoning mechanics from Fusion, Synchro, XZ, and even Link into the deck. The only thing it doesn't do is Ritual Summon, unfortunately. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your names true in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to your quest to deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. And without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Madame Veer. So this card is really good, or Magistus of Veer is rather. This card is really good. So what she does is when she's normal or special summon, you get to activate one of these effects. You get to add one Magistus spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or return one of your banished level 4 or lower spellcaster monsters in your back to your graveyard, which is a really good effect just to be able to get back your banished spellcasters back to the graveyard. It's more helpful for Witchcrafter decks, but adding that one Magistus spell or trap, you have to play her as a 3-up. She also has the ability you can banish her from the graveyard to then target a Magistus monster you control and equip to one other Magistus monster from your graveyard to that monster, except a level 4 monster, which is a really great effect just to give you additional monsters to equip. We then play 3 copies of Zora, the Magistus of Flame. Zora is really awesome. I love this card. He's actually a level 4 tuner monster, which is really helpful for this deck to go into synchro monsters, and he has the ability that you can target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with one other Magistus monster from your extra deck. And if this card becomes equipped with a Magistus monster, then you can special summon one level 4 Magistus monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, except another copy himself, but its effects are negated. So it's still really good to help you go into synchro plays and helps you go into a lot of different amazing plays in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoires. This card is actually Alistair the Invoker, but when he was younger, which is really amazing. I love the lore of this. Like, it's really cool. We don't have an archetype for this yet, but this is actually Witchcrafters, and this is actually Madame Veer, which is why I called it Madame Veer, but it's Magistus Veer. And then this is actually Alistair, which is really amazing. So it has the ability that you can send any other spellcaster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And you can declare any attribute, and this card becomes the attribute until the end of the turn. And you can banish this card from the graveyard to target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with one Magistus monster from your graveyard, except another level 4, which is really awesome. We then play 3 copies of Endymion, which ties the Endymion archetype into this as well, which is really amazing that it ties in yet another iconic spellcaster archetype into this deck. It has the ability that you can target one Magistus monster you control and equip it with any Magistus monster from your extra deck, and then you can target one face-up spell card you control and destroy it. If you do, you draw a card, and then you place a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, which is pretty helpful to get you additional searches and be able to draw a particular card that you might need and get rid of something that's not helpful anymore on your field. This card is also really helpful because it's a water monster and it's level 4, which can help you go into Bahamut Shark. We then play 2 copies of Trick Clown, because Trick Clown is really good at getting onto your side of the field. With cards like your Crowley, it's a great combo piece to be able to use with your copy of Crowley to just send it to the graveyard and then immediately special summon it, and then use it as an overlay or a link play with your Crowley as an additional basically extender. We then play a single copy of Damage Juggler, because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish it and then add another Perform Mage from your deck to your hand. And then we play a single copy of Hat Trigger. Hat Trigger can special summon itself to your side of the field if you control 2 or more monsters, or if you have 2 or more monsters on the field. If your opponent has 2, or you have 2, or as long as there's 2 monsters on the field, you can special summon this card, which is really amazing, and just to get you an additional extender to be able to go into additional plays. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. This card's really good at stopping your opponent from doing all sorts of shenanigans against you. From any time they want to touch the deck, you basically just drop an Ash against them. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is really helpful in this deck just to get you an additional Magistus back on your side of the field. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial just gets any of your Magistus monsters you need into the graveyard as quickly as possible. 3 copies of Book of Moon. Book of Moon is really, really good in this deck. Book of Moon I really like because it can flip your opponent's monsters face down. The only thing that this kind of doesn't work against is link monsters, but it can help you out a lot of different cards against your opponent. So I chose to play 3 copies of this in this particular build, and it's been working out really well for me. If you don't want to play this, you can actually drop it for an additional impermanence if you want to play impermanence instead, but I really have been liking this card. We then play 3 copies of Magistus Virturi. Vituri is really good because you get to target 1 level 4 or lower Magistus monster in your grave and special summon it. And if Magistus card is in your spell and trap card zone, would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, then you get to banish this card from your graveyard instead, which is a really, really great effect just to get you your monsters or your monsters in your spell and trap card zones to be protected. We then play 3 copies of Magistus Theology. This card is really good too because it lets you target 1 Magistus monster you control, equip with a Magistus monster except a level 4 monster from your extra deck or graveyard or face from your field, and if you have at least 1 each of the Magistus Fusion, Synchro, XZ, and Link in your grave, you can equip it with 1 non-Magistus Fusion, XZ, Synchro, or Link monster from your extra deck instead, which is kind of an interesting concept to be able to do that, and it's just an overall really powerful card. We then play 3 copies of Magistus Invocation, which is basically a polymerization because it lets you fusion summon any of your Magistus monsters or any fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including spellcaster deck monsters. And if using a Magistus, or if you're fusing into a Magistus monster, then you can also use monsters from your spell and trap card zone as materials to fusion summon. We then played 3 copies of Trias Magistus. This card is fantastic for this deck, and I love what this card does. This card, each time a Magistus card is equipped with an equipped card, or each time a Magistus monster equipped with an equipped card would be destroyed by battle, each turn it is not destroyed. And then also you can use the effect of, during your main phase, you can special summon 1 level 4 spellcaster monster in your hand, or you get to send this card from your field to your graveyard to special summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from your hand. So if you have 4 of them in your hand, you can instantly send this to the graveyard and special summon 4 monsters to your field, which is ridiculous. We then play 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. Spellbook of Knowledge is basically the draw power of the deck to be able to add, or be able to send any spellcaster you have on your control to the graveyard to be able to draw a card. I was playing Spellbook of Secrets in the deck as well to be able to add it from deck to hand, but I dropped it for the Book of Moons because I wanted to have a little bit more control aspect. And then I'm playing 2 copies of Spell Power Mastery, which basically the Spell Power Mastery just gives me the ability to be able to add an Endymion from my deck to my hand, which is the main effect that you're going to be going for with this card anyway. So that's it for the spells, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Artemis. Artemis is the most important card in the entire extra deck and is an extremely powerful card at that, because what she does is you link summon into her using any other spellcaster monster that's level 4 or lower, which the entire deck is except for Ash Blossom. And what this card does is if another Magistus monster is normal or special summon while you control this face-up card, then you can target 1 Magistus monster you control and equip this card to it. And then when this card is equipped to a Magistus monster, you can add a Magistus monster from your deck to your hand, which gets you an additional monster from your deck to your hand for additional combos, which is really, really good. We then play a single copy of IP Masquerade because the Masquerade can help you climb into additional monsters like Nightmare Unicorn, and even your copy of your Selene, the Queen of Master Magicians, which is a great card in this deck too. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix because Nightmare Phoenix can pop spells or traps, which this deck does need that little extra oomph to be able to pop spells and traps. 1 copy of Selene, the Queen of Master Magicians. Now this card is ridiculous in this deck. And Selene is actually technically a part of this archetype because she's a part of Endymion's archetype, and she's not only a part of Endymion's archetype, but she's also Artemis as well, because this is a younger version of Selene, which is really amazing. So what she does is if this card is link summoned, you get to place spell counters on this card equal number of spell cards on the field and in the graveyard. And then it has the ability that while an Endymion card is on the field, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card with attacks. So if you normal summon that regular Endymion monster that's level 4 and it's on your field, then your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. And also has the ability that quick effect during the main phase that you can quick effect remove 3 spell counters from this card to special summon a spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, which is a really powerful effect. Play a Steam copy of Unicorn because it helps us spin stuff that we don't want to have to deal with, and a Steam copy of Access Code Talker because you have all these different attributes in your extra deck. You have light, dark, fire, and dark again, so you have 3 different attributes in the extra deck to be able to pop cards, which is really nice for this particular deck. I love playing Access Code. If you want to drop it for like a Boral Sword, you can if you're trying to go to a little bit more budget on this deck though. I play a single copy of Naruru, the Magistus Glass Goddess. This card is really good too. This card, the majority of your other Magistus monsters are mainly used as equip monsters to be able to equip them to give additional abilities, but let's go over this card really quickly. It takes 2 level 4 spellcaster type monsters to go into this card, and then when this card is equipped to a monster, it lets that monster attack 2 times on other monsters during each battle phase. And you only use effect of this card, the following for this card, once per turn, and this is when it's on the field. You can detach a material from this card, and then target 1 level 4 higher spellcaster monster in the graveyard and add it to your hand. And then while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target 1 Magistus card in your spell and trap card zone and spell and trap your opponent controls, and you destroy them both, which is pretty good to be able to just destroy spells and traps. But at the same time, I just like to play 1 copy with some of the other cards after on the extra deck. We then play a single copy of Bahamut Shark because Bahamut Shark can get out towed really easily. And you might be looking at this deck and going, wait, how do I get out Bahamut Shark? You're only playing 1 water. Well, actually, you're not. Let me show you a quick thing about this deck. So actually Crowley can manipulate what kind of typing it is. So if you normal summon out a copy of Endymion, and Endymion lets you target a Magistus card you control and equip it with another Magistus from your extra deck, then you can then special summon out your copy of your Crowley by sending any spellcaster from your deck to the graveyard and call it to be water. Then you can overlay both of these and go into a Bahamut Shark, which is really amazing and really easy for this deck too, to just give you access to a powerful card like Totally Awesome. And it's really easy in this particular build to do it. We then play a single copy of the Magistus Divinity Dragon. This card is just a one of. It's probably, in my opinion, the worst of them all. But what it does is when it's equipped to a card, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by opponent's spell and trap effects. That's why it's bad, because it just makes it so they can't be destroyed by spell and trap effects. Like, it could have said they can't be destroyed by card effects, and it would have been a little bit better. And then it also has the ability that the following effect of this card can only be used once per turn, that if this synchro summon card is destroyed, you destroy a face of cards your opponent controls, and at the start of the damage step, if a monster this card equipped to battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. I really, in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of this card in this deck. I like Artemis, and I like the Fusion the best, to be honest with you guys, because I think those 2 are the most ridiculous in the entire extra deck. We then play the same copy of Borreload. Borreload Savage is just really good to just negate stuff. And I usually go into this card over going into Varum the majority of the time. And then we play 3 copies of the Spell Spirit, or 2 copies of Spell Spirit, excuse me. What this card does is basically it's brain control. If you guys don't know what this card does, is what it does is when it's equipped to a monster, it makes it gain 1,000, and then when it's on your side of the field, you can use this card to target an opponent's monster and equip it to that monster and take control of it, which is really insane. I really love that effect, to just be able to take that opponent's monster. It negates the effects, but it does make them gain 1,000, so you can essentially get like a really powerful monster with this card. And it's really easy to summon as well. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play. It's very simplistic in what it tries to do. Basically, you're equipping your extra deck monsters from the Glass Goddess, Spell Spirit, and the Divinity Dragon to your monsters, and Athena, or Artemis, excuse me, to your monsters, to be able to just give them all sorts of different effects, which is really amazing for this particular deck. I love the way that it plays. It's very simplistic, and basically you just have a bunch of level 4 spellcasters that you're trying to get card advantage against your opponent. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.